There we were, 25 actors, sitting there on the very first day of our new conservatory program. And our teacher walked in and said to us, out of the 25 of you, only one, maybe two of you are actually going to make it. And we all just kind of looked around at each other, obviously thinking like, it's gonna be me. Like, look at all these suckers. Look at all these people who think they're going to make it. I'm gonna be the one that makes it. Only one of us. And we still had another year, 2 years ahead of us of work and grit and hustle. Not a very uplifting way to start the year. But as that year wore on, I still had the mentality that it was going to be me, because throughout my entire performing career, that was always the mentality from teachers, from strangers, from family members that, it's hard. It's hard to be successful as a performer. And that mentality, though it might be true on some levels, not the most inspiring thing to hear when you are trying to do something that you already kind of have a lot of things against you, right? But what I learned from that experience, or what I started noticing in myself, or perhaps something that I was trying to not acknowledge in myself, was that at that very same time, I decided that instead of working in a restaurant and trying to do that whole scene, like everybody else, as I was trying to be an actor, I was going to start my very first online business as a health and fitness coach. And this was back in my early 20s. And I got a lot of slack for it, but I didn't really care. People made fun of me. But for some reason, I was just really obsessed with it. And I wasn't even really making money. I was maybe making enough money at the time to pay for my Manhattan train fare, right? That was like $300 a month or something. But I found that even though I had invested thousands of dollars into the school, on my way home, sitting on my train, finally had my quiet time, I should have been learning my lines. I should have been studying. But instead, there I was, updating my Twitter, sharing recipes, messaging people. And I didn't want to acknowledge it at the time, but I was way more disciplined and way more driven when it came to my business. And so I really want to talk a little bit about this today, this kind of these three big elephants in the room of the entrepreneurial space, and kind of the things that I learned when I realized that I actually should have been an entrepreneur and not an actor, and kind of how I moved through that transition, because it's kind of hard, because that becomes your whole identity. That becomes everything that you are, everything that you've ever said you wanted to be. And so if you don't know who I am, my name's Jen Casey. I'm a business strategy coach for online entrepreneurs, and I teach my peeps how to go from social media to sales. And so that's why I really wanted to jump on today, and my baby grandma business partner is even up for this right now. I am so touched. I am so glad that my lady Angie Lee is here. Gotta sing words for her, because that's how she rolls. So this first piece is that oftentimes when we tell ourselves that we want to be an actor, or be an online health and fitness coach, or be an astronaut, or whatever it is, we get into this place sometimes where we are living in this romance. We are living in a place where we don't necessarily actually want that thing. We're more in love with the idea of it. We are more attached to the idea of what getting that level of success means to us, of what that level of success, what we think that would feel like. And it's almost like a bad relationship where we are in a relationship maybe with somebody who we shouldn't be in a relationship is, but we just want to make it work. We just want to make it work because we love the idea of being in love with that person more than we actually like picking up their dirty socks. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing that I experienced with being an actor. I loved the idea of being on stage and being able to express myself and just live fully and be in that sense of spiritual alignment. But the reality of being an actor is you have to freaking hustle your face off. You need to go to voice lessons every week. You need to go to dance classes. You need to learn monologues. You need to study for years. That kind of profession is 90% preparation and 10% performance, 10% actually getting up in front of people, at least for the first beginning stages of ramping up until you actually become a professional performer. And it's not that I wasn't disciplined, it's not that I didn't have the heart, it's just that there were other things that were speaking to me. But in order to get out of that place of being in love with the idea of being an actor and wanting to stick it to everybody who said, you can't do that, it's too hard, I just got obsessed with trying to make it work. And that, my friends, when we get into that place where it's like, well, I told everybody I was going to do it, now if I don't, I'm going to look stupid. Well, guess what? That's not living in alignment. That's coming from a place of ego. That is literally all ego. If you are creating your goals, if you are defining the things that you want, if you are saying, I'm going to do XYZ and be successful in this way, and you're doing it for the sole purpose of wanting to have some kind of, I don't know, some kind of face on for everybody else, that is ego. That is something that's going on in here that needs to be dealt with, right? So that's the first piece. We need to recognize that living in this state and living from a place of romance, of loving the idea of being in love and loving the idea of being an actor and loving the idea of being an entrepreneur, that doesn't necessarily equate success. Right now, being an entrepreneur is a real cool thing to do. I went out the other night and saw a bunch of people who I haven't seen in a million years from high school, and that seemed to be the trend. And some of those people would probably be great entrepreneurs, and some of them are really savvy business owners, and I freaking applaud them for that. But there's also a lot of people who come up to me who I haven't seen in a while, and now it's like, ooh, you're an entrepreneur, like, how fancy. And it's like, dude, I sit in my yoga pants every day and I make videos, and like 90% of the people that I know would literally be miserable doing what I do because I have very little social outlets. You know, I have my client calls, I have my BFF business partner, Angie, but we always joke about it's like, I need social interaction. But that's part of working from home and being an entrepreneur. That's part of the thing. So just like as an actor, if you don't like the idea of waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and hustling it into Manhattan and standing on a cold city corner for 4 hours and then signing up and hopefully that these people will actually acknowledge this list, and then you go in and you sit for another 5 hours before you get to sing 8 whole bars. 8 whole bars was like, right? Like that to me was like, I just didn't have that in me. And my boyfriend does this as a profession. I applaud him and I bless him because he just does it. And I'm just like, whew, would not want to do that. Wouldn't trade you. Not for me. Not for me, but that's okay. Like I had to get to the place where I recognized that that was okay. So number one is living in a place of romance does not equal success. The second thing is really, truly learning how to check in with yourself. Learning how to trust your gut. I cannot say this enough, especially for those of you who want to be entrepreneurs, who are slowly and steadily building your businesses. A lot of people who I work with one-on-one or people who I see in the online space, good friends of mine, one of the biggest things that I see people running into is that they don't pay attention to the way that they are feeling. They don't pay attention to the signs. And what I mean by this is that, you know, it's this whole idea, the romance, like I was saying, of like life by design, and that's what's pushed out there and that's what's promoted. But a lot of people don't talk about the reality of these things, that you need to have insane discipline, that you need to love the shit out of what you do because it's not easy and there's a lot of tough days, and that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. And this goes with any profession. Like if you do not love what you do and you do not feel aligned with what you are doing 90% of the time, I'm not saying you need to up and quit right now. I'm just saying you really need to reassess the direction in which you're going. And it's not a matter of, you know, I know a lot of people are afraid of appearing fickle or flaky or fake, and I did too. When I walked away from being an actor and when I walked away from being a health coach, when I decided to create my own business just as a business coach. And it took me about 6 months of flip-flopping and toe dipping to really get to that place where I just said, this is what I need to do. This is what I am being pulled to do. And I realized how much happier I was, how much more creative I was, how much more fulfilled I felt, how much more money I was making because it was aligned, because it was something I was excited about, and that excitement was translating to everyone who was paying attention, to everyone who was watching. And so, like I said, it's not about being fickle or flaky. It's about allowing yourself the permission to be flexible. We have to be flexible when we are running online businesses, Because it's not being fickle, you're a human being. As human beings, we evolve and we change and we grow. And if you're not allowing yourself and your amazingness to experience that expansiveness and growth, then you are stunting that growth. As human beings, we are always constantly craving newness. We are craving expansion. We want to get to the mountain, and then we're looking at the next one already. We're craving that. And so if you're in a place where you're in a business right now, or you're doing things a certain way and you just feel like something's not in alignment, something's stuck, you need to recognize that maybe you need to change something. I'm not saying like jump ship and do something totally different, but there's something that needs to be tweaked within that. And find your happy, because listen, we're not doing this whole life by design entrepreneurship because it's a freaking cakewalk. It's not easy. And we're not doing this and leaving, lucrative careers in other areas. Not my acting career, guys. I know. You can stop laughing. But all the other people who had really cool careers who walked away to go build their own thing, what the heck is the point of building your own thing if you don't freaking like it? Right? Like, I know so many people who they decide to choose a niche to serve, like my health coach peeps, they'll choose a niche to serve because they think that's going to be more profitable. When in reality, it's not the thing they're passionate about. And so if you're not passionate about it, you don't feel like talking about it, and you're not excited about it, it doesn't matter how, like unsaturated that area might be. It really just comes down to what are you excited to talk about, because your excitement translates. So it's just, we really need to recognize that for ourselves. So give yourself a moment to check in, and like, if you're in that state where every single month you feel anxiety, where every single month you feel stressed out by the things that, you're currently doing in your business, well, what if certain variables were changed? What if you had unlimited customers coming to you? What if money wasn't an issue? Would you still be doing those things? Why are you doing them? What is motivating those things that you are doing? And it's just like when I was in acting school, man, like I would sit on the train back home, and like I said, instead of learning my lines, I'd be posting on Facebook, posting on Twitter. And it really, I had to realize, I had to pay attention, have that self-awareness about what are the things I'm gravitating towards? What are the things I actually like doing? Those things were not priorities. Those were not priorities on my list of things. Like, I had to get up the next day and do a scene. So I was either going to learn my stuff or go up there and completely embarrass myself. And yet, that wasn't motivation enough for me to go learn my lines. Instead, I was like, post it on social media. Well, that's a freaking like red flag waving me down saying, hey, take a look. I think we've got something here. So pay attention to that. And this third thing that I kind of learned on this crazy roller coaster is that it's okay to quit. It's okay to quit. I know that's a scary thing, because we're like, quitting equals failure. Quitting equals giving up. But that's not the reality. Quitting doesn't mean you've given up. I think smart people know when to quit and know when to move on to something that is a better fit for them, to move on to something that makes them happier. I've got a lot of friends who do entrepreneurship, and one friend in particular who very recently was like, you know what? I'm not happy doing this anymore. I'm going to go get myself a salary job so I don't have to be worried about commissions anymore, because I am sick of the stress. I am sick of the pressure. She's like, I may come back to it. I'm not saying goodbye forever. I'm just saying that emotionally this does not feel good to me right now, so I'm taking a break. Taking a little break. And guess what? That's totally fine. And I respect the crap out of her for doing that, because most people won't. Most people have ego in the way, and they have this dirty little secret that they're not happy in their company, or they're not happy with their business, and nobody's freaking talking about it, but everybody's thinking it. And so I'm blowing the whistle right now, like, this is it, right? Like, if you have this dirty little secret where you're really freaking miserable in whatever you're doing, and you're sticking with it because of appearances, or because you're afraid of failing, or whatever, and you're forcing it, it's not going to get easier. In my opinion, at least. I don't think it's going to get easier. I think that it's going to put more stress and more pressure on you. And I'm coming from a place of, this has been my experience, this is what I learned. And when I was doing health and fitness coaching, I stopped early, about a year ago, I started phasing out. And, my boyfriend and I have had conversations like this. He's like, last time this year, I was really looking at you going, she's so stressed out. She's so unhappy. I don't know how we're going to do another year of this. He literally told me that's what he thought. And that's like crazy to me because he never shared that. He was always super supportive, so supportive, and still is. And he's just the freaking best. But that's the reality. And he was so right to have that fear because, man, I would get psycho because I had these goals that I had to hit within my company and I was really good at doing it. And it was really, you know, something that drove me to do more and I was successful. But at what cost? At what cost? What is it worth? Is it the money that you're chasing? Is it the gold star that you're chasing? The recognition? The pat on the back? Like, what is it? Is it the ego? I don't know. But if you're not feeling happy, I know I keep saying it, but if you don't feel happy in what you're doing, don't freaking do it. Because, I don't know. I mean, what's the point? What's the point of all of this? Right? So that is what I have for you guys tonight. Just to quickly recap. Tonight, we were just covering these 3 big elephants in the room, and I hope that this was helpful for you hearing this right now, and maybe this gave you the little kick in the butt, little, not a reality check, but just like that confirmation, that permission to say, maybe I do need to take a look at this, because happiness is everything. What is the point if we don't have happiness, right? So if you are in a situation where you are living in a romance, where you're like, this is so cool, but it's cool to say to people that I'm an actor. It's cool to say I'm an entrepreneur. Like, stop Fantasyland. What do you actually want? What actually lights you up? Like, go seriously be windmill maintenance and repair. If that is your life's passion, do it. Go do that. Trust your gut. Pay attention to everything that is going on with you emotionally and physically, and pay attention to the signs, because your emotional guidance scale and everything else and all the situations that will be coming into your awareness and existence, it's showing you how you feel about things. It's pretty much giving you all the signs that you could possibly need to keep you guided on your path that you want to go in. You just have to be willing to look inward and pay attention. I know, very woo-woo of me tonight, right? And just to give you guys the little heads up and permission that it's okay to quit. It's okay to walk away from something that is not feeling aligned and that is not working for you. Seriously, truly. So thank you guys so much for jumping on tonight. And if you would like to learn more about me, you can head to heyjencasey.com. If you are an entrepreneur and you are interested in really going all in and really just going for it, I want to offer you something really cool that I just put together. It's a social media training. You can go to socialmediatosales.com and you can check that out. It's super cool, super quick, and very powerful training. So go ahead and check that out. Feel free to share this video if you found it powerful, and I will see you guys later. Have a good night. Bye. Love you guys. Bye.